6 strangers must return to the wilderness, surviving for 25 days with no modern technology, learning the old ways from the elders, to reconnect to their past and find what truly matters. Times change, people grow, but the land remains. Like their ancestors, 6 strangers begin a 25-day journey to culturally reconnect and discover their identity. Surviving along old fur trade routes in northern Ontario, with no modern technology, they will learn the old ways from elders in the OG Cree territory of Achikimau, battling hardships and hunger to discover the importance of knowing where they come from and who they are.
My name is Michaela Carrier. I'm from Cumberland House, Saskatchewan. I'm a Cree Métis. I grew up in the middle of nowhere on a trap line.
Biju Opishikau Gijik Indigenakas, Migazi Indodem. So my spirit name means dawn of new day. For me, connecting with the land has been huge. Connecting to this country, this place.
Hello, my name is Gabriella Cheryl Chichi from Beaver House First Nation in Ontario. Some things I enjoy to do are horseback riding, traveling, spending time with my chief, and learning more about my cultural history.
My name is Brendan Joseph Edward Shane Riley. I'm originally from Windsor, Ontario, and my tribe is Chippewas of the Thames.
I'm Cale McGiskin, and I'm from Thunder Bay, Ontario. I grew up here, born and raised. And I like the forest, and I like being out in the woods and exploring and adventuring, so I think that'll be a pretty cool experience, and it's just more or less just something fun to do, something different.
My name's Ebony Louie. I'm Micmac, but I'm from the Maliseet community of Tobic First Nation in New Brunswick. I was really excited about this project because I feel like it would be great to learn firsthand how our ancestors utilized their environment in a day-to-day basis and how this would have affected their outlook and their worldview.
Well, it's going to be a challenge to be out in the land for 25 days. I know there's going to be a lot of psychological, challenges.
I've never been hunting. In my native side of the family, we were really disconnected from the spirituality because both my grandparents were in residential school. So,
growing up in the city, we just became so disconnected with our home reserve and never really got to know anything.
I'm really excited to learn new skills and new ways of living, because I'll be able to implement them into my own life.
Knowing who I am, right? I'm judged all the time for not appearing to be an Indigenous person or not coming from a reserve, those types of things. So I'm always judged on that, and I've needed to sort of carve out my own path in terms of how I feel connected to my Indigenous side, and for me it's being out on the land.
Growing up, having that connection has definitely made the fundamentals for me to be able to stay very connected with my culture and understand the importance of knowing who you are and where you come from.
Taking their first steps into the wild, with only a personal possession linking them to their old lives, the adventurers are hit with the reality of the challenge and responsibility of the journey ahead. Welcoming them are Elders Stanley Stevens and Terry Child Forever.
No? Don't understand? It's good. You have to learn it. Yeah. What I'm saying is, this is the last generations of my language back home. My kids, they speak English, but they understand, but they can't talk. This is the last generation, and him too. Nobody talks back home, my language. I'm OG Cree. My dad's a Ojibwe, my mom is a Cree. So the same thing what Stan says. We understand each other. In some places, they don't understand us, our language, because it's all combined in a dialect. My dad was in a residential school. He wasn't allowed to talk in his language. Then when he came back, he didn't let me talk in English. And that's how it was, and that's how I learned it.
He said some really good things about the lost language of Ojibwe, and I related to that because in our territory, in Cumberland House, in the Cree language there is being lost too for the young people. So we've been trying to bring it back and teach people Cree because it's really important.
The skills I'm going to be learning from the elders and the people that are going to be with you, these are the skills you're going to be using when you go out on the land yourself. So hopefully, whatever you learn during this time, that you'll hold on to your skills and pass it on to the next generation. Keep all these skills going. We don't want to lose all these skills and pass it on to the next generation, So that way we'll survive on the land as long as the land is here. So we have to look after ourselves and look after the land, and we'll be a strong people again someday. And in order to be a strong person, you have to go out on the land and practice the old ways, and then that way you will be able to survive when the time comes when you go on the land by yourself. Whatever it's again it's mando. In an akumago na nortagizigak, minegi melomadzisiak. Mininan maskawiziwen, nestaga stentagus win. Mlogono manan, nesta shawene manan. Anortesta kagege, hinabuwa gegon, anortestayan, emelomadzisiak, anortagizigak, anortesta kagege. Mingwes kitchamandu, mingwes kitchamandu.
Wichita, do ya.
It's the opportunity to step back in time. How often do you get that?
Maybe in terms of like working with other people for that long, I feel like that would be probably where I would learn something, is because I'm not really a team player, and so I've never thrown myself into a situation where I had to be a team player.
Father, he was not that great a parent, but that's not his fault because of the intergenerational grief. He never learned because my grandmother never learned, so it's all like that, which is why I have to learn.
Absolutely, I live in the city. Absolutely, I didn't get to grow up, so much on my reserve, but I still am Native, and nobody can take that from me.
Lots of emotional challenges on long canoe trips, and every day there's someone having a meltdown. And how do you go about solving those challenges? I guess it's just the unknowns that are scary, because there's so many different things that are going to happen, and how are we going to adapt to that situation as a group? So that's a bit of a concern.
When I found out that we weren't going to have like all the conventional tools that you would usually have, it kind of sparked my interest a bit more. The thing that excites me most about this journey is like just being out in the wilderness and learning new things, stuff that I've never really been acquainted with.
Everybody asks me what my fear is, and it's what these whiskers are going to look like. I groom every day, It's hard work in the morning.
The struggle and importance of the journey sets in, overwhelming some with what lies ahead. For the next 25 days, the group of strangers must unite to survive. With teachings from elders in the Ojibwe language, they will learn hunting, shelter, and other skills essential to their journey. For countless generations, the ability to harvest, travel, and trade was made possible by birch bark canoes.
I'm gifting the canoes to the people that are here today. Each one has a different style of canoe.
Birch bark canoes were sourced from the trees, roots, and materials surrounding Ojibwe people, providing a sustainable method of transport that glided over the waters. Birch bark is used to line the hull, shaped by white cedar gunnels, bound by spruce roots hand-picked from the soil. Ribs are formed carefully from white cedar planks to complete the canoe, creating a light, sturdy, and reliable vessel to cut through the water. On shore, they are met by traditional canoe builders Josie Thomas and Matt Stevens.
What excites me most about this journey is the learning part. I'd love to learn more about traditional ways that the fur traders used to travel on these rivers, and really just get into nature.
I'm very anxious to learn. Just listen, sit and intake, and be respectful, because these are people who have lived a life that I kind of want to get into myself, you know, be self-sufficient, self-reliant.
Hope that after this, the 25 days, I'll have more of an appreciation for the traditional values and teachings and survival skills that I'm taught by the elders.
These waterways are, there are roads, there are highways, so our primary means of transportation were these Jimanag. Everybody east of the Mississippi River, we're canoe people, and then when you go west, they're the horse people.
Paddling a birch bark canoe is quite different than a regular canoe because it has no keel on the bottom of it. It's like jumping on a flying saucer or a crazy carpet. I'm hoping right now that they don't flip the canoe, or I hope the water is not that cold if they do.
It looked like we almost tipped when we were getting in though. They both sat on the same side. That was kind of funny. When we got in the boat, it started all sinking in for us, and I think we all kind of realized, like, yeah, we're definitely going to be in the woods for the next 25 days now.
After a nerve-wracking paddle, they're not yet ready for the rivers and are called back to shore to learn the skills vital to repairing traditional canoes. Stripping bark and making pitch to patch holes could mean the difference between life and death on the frigid waters.
So in order to seal them up, we're going to be using some of nature's finest tools ever. Okay, we got some wigwas, some birch bark, and we also have some pine pitch. Today we'll be using spruce pitch or spruce gum. What we want to look for is just the crystallizing of the sap that comes out of the tree. You don't want to cut into the tree. You just want to find the pieces on the outside of the tree. Pop some of this off. You'll see how it's coming off here. Small pieces here. Now, the bigger the tree that you get, the more sap that you're going to be able to come off, right? So before we decide to leave this tree, we all want to just honor this tree.
I've never made a patch for a birch bark canoe before, so this is the first time. And even cutting this birch bark today was the first time I've ever done that. So it's really cool to actually see it being done.
So absolutely, I do feel like I am reconnecting more with my roots and being able to understand just how my ancestors had lived at one period. So these are all only like beneficial skills, and it definitely has gotten me a lot more in tune with, my roots and nature itself.
Hearing someone say something is one thing, but seeing someone do something and then doing it yourself is the best way to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important to be able to paddle your own canoe kind of thing, build it from scratch. And I'm really curious to test that if you slice one down and then around, if it would just shed its own skin, so to speak. I'd really like to see that. That sounds interesting. And nature provides.
Like, I can't remember the last time I've done my own laundry or cleaned my own house. I've always paid people to, so it's gonna be quite the experience.
I don't know if I've ever make a birch bark canoe. That seems pretty intense.
Like, I've never been so grungy like this in my life. Like, there's no expectation of how you have to dress or how you have to be or how quick you have to have things done. Or
I have sap all over my fingers because I was harvesting
gooey stuff.
Sticky sap.
We made a good team.
at least I'm gonna learn some things. Hopefully when I go home I'll do my own laundry. Highly doubt it though.
The daily demand of food, fire, and shelter have not yet been realized by the group. Failure to acquire just one could be life-threatening. Before their journey continues, they must complete their teaching of turning spruce gum into sealant.
So you saw how I mixed it together, right? I crushed up the charcoal first, let the sap drain down into it, Then that's when you mix it. Once it's all nice and mixed into a nice liquid, then you put just a little wee bit of the bear grease into it, mix it up, and then that's how you'd put it on her. But it's usually you gotta do it fast, right? This is our pitch. See how it's starting to already get thicken? That's when we need to get over here. So we'll come over to the canoe. You wanna get that on there. So the best way to get it on there nice and evenly and everything, right, after it starts to harden like how it is, what you want to do is it sounds weird, you lick your finger because it won't get stuck to water, right? You lick your finger and you just spread it out.
Does it cool down fairly quickly?
Oh, I'm not burning myself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So today we got a rundown on how to, fix a birch bark canoe, and that was a really awesome experience. It's something I've thought about a lot, when you see old pictures and, you wonder about the fragility of them and how they would have dealt with it, when they're traveling from place to place. And it just seemed like maybe it would be a long, long process, but, it's actually surprisingly quick. You find the right tree, a little bit of charcoal and a little bit of bear grease, which they would have had on hand. And I like the idea of like carrying that little repair kit along, like people would do nowadays for patching a tire or something, right? And it's probably just as quick for some people to change a tire as it is for them to patch a birch bark canoe when you've got a lot of experience. So that was awesome to see today.
Despite their first success, the impact of realizing their ties to the land has already changed the perspective for some members of the group.
It started when we were collecting like resin or pine sap for repairing the canoes, and I kind of got a headache and kind of turned into like a migraine, and for a while it was making me pretty miserable, and I was offered a jar of medicine, which but I thought it was going to be bear grease, but it turned out to be a different medicine, and it was a medicine my mom used a lot, and it was a medicine that she requested that I used in her last rites, and it brought a lot of emotions back to me all at once that I thought were kind of buried. And so I kind of had to step back a little bit and, I don't know, try to rethink why I'm here, I guess, because I was kind of struggling with some stuff. But she's like a main reason why I'm here and why I'm doing this. And so, like, I think in her honor, I'm gonna do the best I can and try to make it a worthy trip.
As sunlight fades and their first night under the stars becomes a reality, the adventurers receive unexpected gifts from the elders to help them on their journey. Clothing, furs, tools, a warm fire, and a few days' supply of pemmican are a welcome gift to the hungry group, who will soon need to rely on each other in ways they've never experienced before.
Only one.
Traditionally, what we used to do is we used to camp out underneath the canoes. So whenever we'd be portaging or traveling or whichever, come nighttime, we would lean up our canoe with a cedar pole and sleep underneath it. Okay, we'd line the bottom of it, kind of like a mattress with the hides. So that's what the hides are for, and that's what we're gonna be doing tonight.
Sleeping on the floor of the earth again is gonna be really exciting. I haven't really done that before. I've done lots of camping, canoe trips, and living in the woods, but we've always had some modern conveniences, you know, like tarps or just different things that you take for granted. So this is going to be a big learning experience. and that's what I'm excited about.
With the temperature dropping and elders departing, they must work together to create their first shelter and collect enough firewood to last the night. Basic tools, the materials around them, 3 canoes, and each other. This is all these strangers have. From now on, they must learn to rely on each other. They are on their own for the next 25 days.
Our first little smudge of the group.
Yeah, first smudge.
First night out in the woods.
Yeah. Day 1, let's get it.
Night 1. Looking forward to the rest of this journey with all of you guys. It's been great getting to know you already.
Yeah, like you guys are all super close. It's the most fun I've ever had being in like the most challenging situation I've ever been in my life. So it's nice. Hopefully we all can learn a lot.
There's a change in the tides. Our people must grow. The land remains a part of us. Our culture will survive. 6 adventurers can regain what was taken. They should listen to the waters, find truth in the wild, and share knowledge with the next generations. Who we are is not lost yet. Who we can be is our choice. Mother Nature is our provider. Can we rediscover our link through the elders? Is it time for our way back to begin?
Whatever it's again, it's Mando. Inanako magon ano tagi jigak. Minegi melomadis yak. Minanan maskawi ziwen. Nestaga sentagos win. Mlogono manan. Nesta shawene manan. Ano nesta kagi.
It's day 1. Well, I guess after night 1. Yeah, no way this is recording. I don't even know how to explain this, but Caleb's story is pretty loud. And it rained. And I'm just trying to figure out if this is all real life.
Six strangers must return to the wilderness, paddling the old trade routes of their ancestors in northern Ontario. Surviving for 25 days with no modern technology. Learning the old ways from the elders. To reconnect to their past and find what truly matters. The adventurers will remain one more day at Twin Lakes Camp, hoping to get their canoes water ready for tomorrow's paddle. Their first night in the wild has left the adventurers wet and cold. Cramped together under their improvised canoe shelter, they quickly got to know one another.
Well, at least we have a fire going. Does anybody else want to talk about how the night was? Everybody else is good? Am I the only one who complains?
Brandon probably slept the most. Based on the snore count
yeah,
that I was able to keep track because I didn't sleep.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
I felt as though I did not get that great a sleep, but apparently my snoring would indicate otherwise, you know.
Poor Brendan was sleeping in like the bottom parts was like the wettest part. Like, oh, felt bad for him.
The rest of us, though, me and Ebony, just sat outside majority of the night and watched the fire and talked. So it wasn't bad. Caleb joined us for a little bit, but then he went back to bed.
I don't know where my feet were in the middle of the night, but apparently they were exposed to the rain. So I got my feet soaked.
We had a pretty miserable night. It was pretty wet and cold and didn't get much sleep.
It was rough. Didn't realize my lower half was exposed to the elements. My upper half was quite warm. Oh no, it wasn't too bad. I'm just happy there's not a big bump from when I lifted my head and smacked it on the teepee.
I think I slept for an hour last night.
You know, at least we had all these experiences, though, because at least now we're gonna know how to set things up properly. We used our like spruce bristle things, and they were like wet, so it made everything colder and it rained, so it was just uncomfortable.
There was just embers. So I got it roaring again because I knew if there's a big fire, you could get warm.
In terms of how we start our next fire, carrying pockets full of tinder would be good.
Yeah, dry.
I'm just following Ebony's lead here.
We can just start cutting wood as soon as we get to our new campsite, which would be smart.
Yeah, and start making a fire right away. And then Brendan had the idea of getting a mushroom.
These mushrooms, fungal growth on trees, are really good at holding heat. You know, they can hold an ember for a long time. All it takes is a little blowing. some tinder and you get it started up again. So it's a portable lighter.
So we'll need to get that mushroom and
Travel with it?
it.
Yeah.
We want to bring them on Canoe. It's been advised to us we should stick them in wet birch bark. That's why they call me a fun guy.
Well, someone's just gotta like keep care of it because you have to keep blowing on it.
We could make a little canoe and just trail it behind the big one. We got the park.
With only one more day at Twin Lakes to ready their canoes for the first big paddle, working together will be essential to their survival.
We put pitch on them yesterday, homemade pitch that we had learned how to do from the elders. So we're gonna actually see if it works and see if our boats are sealed, put them in the water, and because we don't want any water in our boats, we don't want our stuff getting wet.
But I'm super excited because I love canoeing, and these birch bark canoes are really fun to do. It definitely takes a lot more skill set.
Today we're going out in the canoe, and that's going to be a fun experience. See if our pitch job worked well enough and if we can work well as a teams of two. I'm used to kayaking myself where it's all you know. And we got to do the knees too, not to mention, when I've ever done canoe, it's always sitting in a comfortable position. Have to adjust my comfortabilities, I suppose.
I have a feeling that I'm going to be quite wet because I don't know how good our patch jobs are.
So a couple of things I'm concerned with right now as we go to set our canoes in the water for the first time, obviously is taking on water. So we did our first patch job yesterday, which I'm pretty confident in, but there's still a little bit of mystery until we put the boats in the water. And then of course tipping.
I'm kind of nervous to put our canoes in the water. It's pretty wet. It seems to be coming off, so I think we're definitely going to take on some water.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a pretty confident canoeer. I'm with Ebony, who's maybe less confident, or maybe a little bit more nervous about it, but trying to calm her nerves and reassure that we'll be good to go and that we're not tipping at all.
Like I said, I'm the least experienced one, so I definitely don't want to be the one that tips the boat.
Properly patching canoes was imperative to traders. Without this skill, travel to new sources of game to provide food and trade materials would have been impossible. If the adventurers fail at patching their canoes, they could find themselves stuck in an area offering no sustainable resources.
It's filling up really fast. Like I can see it gushing in. It's not a good leak.
So we can work patch it then, I guess.
At least we know where it is.
You guys look badass.
You guys look pretty badass yourselves.
We're patch it then.
We're really scared. It's a very tippy boat.
That's good. I think we got the swing of it. Yeah. We didn't tip.
Yeah.
That's all I have to do is breathe. Easy.
We got a lot of water in there, we got to patch it up. I think it's coming from the back because up here it's just completely dry. But it could be also from...
I saw some come from right under you, but...
Could be from there too as well.
Probably under me too, it's probably the pressure we're applying maybe making just a minute crack.
Yeah, probably.
We'll have to figure it out.
With their canoes needing more work, the adventurers must also consider all of the roles required for a successful camp. While testing their canoes, the adventurers had neglected to keep their fire stoked. Without it, they will have no way to cook, make pitch for their canoes, or stay warm. In the wild, it is one of the most basic but essential keys to survival. Awaiting them at camp is Elder Charlie Baxter.
Tensei.
Umaga bisayan, umagi ditian, giwa ma umayayig iskutegi. When I came here today, I noticed that the fire was out, and so we're gonna learn how to make fire again.
Well, I hope so.
We hope so, right?
Yeah, we hope so.
Hey, good day. How? Good day, Tash. Asa. It's good day. Kabut women. When I got a stone, kabut wing. Where's Scotch? We got to check out man. Kabut wing on you. A sin, yeah, but chagging even. And I had to scare you.
Ka bangotik, got to go. Aí shingo bui natik bui shinagun. Aí wege awat yasin. Ka gyab chigatig. We chibuto na nyong. We te shao nung mawin we te giun jimagan. We te we skacho we te wasagaya wapan. In our area, in the North community, North community, kind of chuma sannyasi. There's no flint nearby on my the skiminang. Ahita siya, we got the kunaman. It just in gagi amutaman. And it just be shagging yab. Garbage storming. Tabiskane sio wete.
A popular and reliable method of fire starting, flint rock is struck against ferrous metal to create sparks that fly onto a nest, often made of moss, twigs, bark, and fibers of clothing or rope. Hot embers are then gently blown until a flame appears.
So this here I have in my hand is the flint, the rock. And you're going to strike it. You're going to strike it like that and break a piece of this, start a fire. So that's what we'll do.
All right, wish me luck, guys.
Good luck.
If no one got it and we had no fire, we would all be really cold. I was already feeling pretty cold by that point.
Super strike.
You can move around to get warmer, but eventually when you're not eating much, you run out of energy, so you really need to just sit down and rest beside a fire.
It's gotta be like a solid strike.
This is the guy who didn't do that.
Hey, I was getting sparks. They just weren't catching. They were just falling right on. Oh, I did nick my thumb, I guess, in a couple places. There's 3 little dots right there.
How was I holding this one before?
Yeah, when we tried to start the fire with the flint, there was pressure, but it was evened out among all of us, right? We all share it because we all share the fire, so.
Felt like way more confident when I went out and tried to start it. But I noticed, like, for my skill set and like just, my little hands, it's definitely not, really safe for me to be doing anything fast where my fingers are. I'm really not trying to cut myself. I already had.
Oh my God, that is such a bad burn. Oh, look at that.
3rd degree.
Does that hurt? Of course not.
No.
So what I want you to do is just keep that on her and find some cordage or whichever. But when you put the moss on it, always this on the cut, right?
That's kind of made it a little bit harder to do things too because it does hurt. Okay, I'm done.
I didn't expect anyone to really get it, to be honest, just because like everyone had had a turn, everyone had had a run through, and like only a couple of sparks had come from either one of them.
Oh, I see them.
Oh, there we go.
Make it rain.
Been like spanking that metal with the rock.
I kind of thought Caleb would be the first one just because of how many like sparks he was creating. I don't even think I got any sparks at all from mine.
Want me to try again?
Yeah, go for it.
Give it a try.
Try the axe too.
I'm gonna try this. This has been proven over the centuries. Not recent centuries.
Yeah, apparently not today.
It's really frustrating to have nothing happening when you're striking it and there's no spark.
I really didn't think I was gonna get it.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Woo! As if! Woo! All right, Tim, now you're the designated fire starter, all right? That's you.
Every morning.
Tim eventually got the fire going and that was really amazing.
When it lit up in his hand, it like, there was a huge flame in his hand. He had to put it down super fast.
Oh yeah, I was excited. That was because it was kind of starting to get really smoky, and I wasn't sure if it was eventually going to catch. And all of a sudden, boom! It just lit on fire, and just kind of startled me. And I was able to, start the fire for the team, and that was really cool. And I had the big smile on my face. So
the look on his face, he was so happy. I was like, oh man, I want to do that too. Like, it looks really fun. Maybe it's worth, you know, scraping your fingers up a little bit.
So it was a lot more rewarding, like just sitting by the fire that you knew that you lit with literally one little spark.
I don't know if it was just a one-off, but yeah, we'll try again, and we'll have to try again. So I think we'll all become pretty proficient over the next few weeks of building fires.
Miigwetso iti lelende now. Wagagi stootjegi ewe kai skutch je osete ewe je zozet. Tim, I'd like to thank you very much on your success in doing the fire. You know, it's for your keeping, for your warmth. Miigwech.
Miigwech for the teaching.
Ewe.
After their first night surrounded by the wild, the adventurers are hopeful something they heard could also become food.
That beaver was like right there, eh?
Right there. If I'd been in my skivvies, I would have tried it.
What if you should bring your spear on the canoe?
Maybe. Well, I think we burned it though.
Oh yeah.
We've been hearing them splashing around and getting close to camp, even chewing up some of the logs not too far off from camps.
We kept hearing splashing in the water from fish, but then we kind of heard like a different noise, and it was more or less like a slap. Someone slapped the water really loud.
It seemed to be moving like it started out a little further, and then it ended up making its way really close. It sounded like it was just down there right by our camp. And then I guess this morning when people were walking around collecting wood, they came across these wood chips and saw, I guess, that it was a beaver. So there's definitely a beaver that seemed to join us at camp.
Charlie, before you go, I just wanted to ask you if you could help us set this beaver trap that we found.
Earlier that morning, while searching for firewood, Michaela turned up an unusual find, a beaver trap. She now hoped Elder Charlie could help her set the rusty trap to catch one of the beaver the group had heard in the area.
Okay. Well, the first time I lit it, the flame went over the edge and caught it on fire, which they had warned us about, but okay. It was just too hot. The flame just reached over and lit it up.
Salvage it. Salvage it.
How?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Scrape it off.
And start again.
First attempt at making pitch, we let a little open flame touch the lid and started a grease fire. Had called a wash. I suppose blowing on it would do anything.
This is a beaver trail right here. I'm gonna try to set a trap.
With a single beaver able to feed the entire group, a catch could give them food for days.
What else do we need? Is a peg that can cut you something?
Oh, just dry stuff. Dry twigs.
Meanwhile, the others begin repatching their canoes, applying the teachings they had received.
And that's a lot to try and replace too, because we'll have to be collecting, we're losing daylight. We'll get it done by tomorrow.
That's a lot though, a lot for what we were making yesterday.
We'll have to dry this if we put anything over it either.
A great source of fat and protein, beaver pelts could also provide added clothing and supplies.
Yes, I engineered a pitch-perfect portable pallet. Patent pending. And it seems to work. It saves you from burnt fingers, which is nice. Once the pitch is all heated and ready, you scrape it off the surface and into something, and then you would use it like just a paintbrush and dab it on, and it's useful if you lick your thumb first because it instantly cools and thus it won't stick to you and burn you.
Best thing I've learned, I think, was probably the patching up the canoe, because we put it down as gently as we could, and regardless of the fact that we were careful, we still put a little hole and little indent into it.
I probably have, just about as much experience as somebody who's, living in a city. I mean, like, I know my medicines, and I know like stuff like cedar, but I really am not experienced at all.
I don't know, I think I just have a little bit of experience with canoe tripping and being out in the wilderness. Maybe not everybody has those set of skills, and that's okay. She does want to try things and maybe just needs that little nudge, and yeah, I'm down to do that, and yeah, it'll be good.
being here and learning new things together, it definitely brings you a lot closer than, you know, just being acquaintances in the city, because we actually have to rely on each other out here. We don't want to argue or anything like that, because that's probably like the worst thing to do. So the best thing we could do is just get along with each other right off the hop and work with each other.
But you know, he was a seasoned drill. He comes up.
As they reflect on the importance of working together, Michaela calls everyone to a group meeting so they can better organize their efforts.
And I think that the rest of the crew is definitely in the same mind frame, because it's turned out to be like a really helpful crew. And it's like almost like instantaneous friendship.
Wood and hunting?
Yeah, me and Tim, wood and hunting.
Wood and hunting. I definitely want to do latrine and wood. Well, we're all going to do wood, but
Michaela is definitely taking a leadership role because she's been on many journeys with little kids. So I mean, when you know how to deal with little kids, I think it's a little easier to deal with the big kids. And no, she's taken she was nice to delegate and hold that meeting and really brought us together as a group.
that's good. Yeah, that's really good. And also, like, you can help with the pitch collection.
Feel free to boss me around. I won't tell Michaela again, you know, just tell me what to do, boss me around, I'm fine with it.
We have no control.
I got it. Good horse.
I guess we do need a plan, and it was actually really good that someone actually stepped up to the plate and took that leadership role.
Nice.
How comfortable was your landing?
It was actually really comfy.
Thanks to that bed.
Growing closer as friends, the adventurers hope their new fire-making skills and group effort at a new shelter will give them a better night's sleep before they hit the open water tomorrow.
I always love to share these kind of things because there's a lot of people, you know, especially who are Indigenous, that just don't, you know, like they're almost kind of like embarrassed of it, and they don't, you know, want to learn. They don't want to celebrate those kind of things, but these songs, like, they always have like a story behind them, and it's important that we do keep those type of teaching, because like it's another thing like our language.
Our mother is the provider, but she challenges. Alone, we cannot carry all the knowledge she has shared. Braided together, we show our strength in unity, enabling us to use all her gifts. Reaching out to others and offering our abilities gives us the chance to light the way forward. If we cannot see a way, can we make one together? Can we turn our knowledge into our children's wisdom?
Udebel itigan gitsimando. Pinanako magona no tagijigak. Minegi melomadzisiak. Mininan maskawiziwan. Yestaga.